Welcome to Couch 44. My name is Paige and today I am pleased to be joined by Tim Carlier, filmmaker from House of Spaghetti. How are you today, Tim?
Very well, thank you, Paige. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to become a filmmaker.
Well, it's always been an interest of mine ever since I was very, very young, and yeah, I just kept trying it out. And when I finished school, I did the screen course at Flinders University. And after 4 years there, something seemed to stick. I started getting jobs as a camera assistant, as a grip, and so I just kept pursuing it. And yeah, Adelaide's been a very welcoming filmmaking community, so it's been very easy to kind of stay in this world and yeah, continue being a filmmaker.
So what made you decide to pursue film in the first place?
I think it was the classic thing of when you're watching films in like early to late teens and you suddenly discover like you like a certain filmmaker or you like a certain style. Like Wes Anderson is suddenly very appealing and you start getting interested in the backstory. And yeah, I think that was definitely the first stage, being interested in being able to create something that tells a story and communicates something to people and makes people feel something. And then the second phase to that was actually starting to work on film sets and realizing that it was a really great social atmosphere. So really the big draw for me as a filmmaker was just being a part of teams and being a part of crews, and that collaborative sense to filmmaking has been the really big appeal to me ever since.
What kind of projects have you been working on?
Recently I've been doing a lot of comedy material. So last year we did a live stream web series called Untitled with Tim Carlier, which is like a live chat show kind of like this, but everybody doing characters, and the idea that it was a combination between pre-filmed sketches and live improv comedy. So it became quite intense because it was every fortnight we'd be producing an episode, and it was a lot of writing and we would constantly change the process, so it was quite difficult. We didn't make it easy on ourselves, but it was a really great learning process to try and figure out how you can make something like that in a collaborative environment and try and make things very quickly.
I know you mentioned Wes Anderson just before. Is he a great influence of yours, or is there any others?
Wes Anderson was definitely a huge influence starting out. It was one of those things where you see someone who has such a clear and distinct vision and it's like, nobody's made a film like this before. And then gradually you realize that lots of people have made films like that before. And then you start learning their names and you start learning about other people. So I think early on it was like Stanley Kubrick and Wes Anderson, and Terry Gilliam was, I think, perhaps the first person that I was like really enamored with, because he was like part of my favorite comedy troupe. And he also just made these really bizarre films that really spoke to me like when I started watching them. Yeah, so they were definitely like big influences, but as I've gone on, I've become less influenced by certain directors and more filmmaking styles. And yeah, the more collaborative aspect of filmmaking, I think, has definitely been a change over the last couple of years, as opposed to, I want to make films like this person. I'm a lot more interested in figuring out how I can make films with other people and how we can come together to make something unique. Yeah. You're
an integral part of the group House of Spaghetti, right?
Yes.
How did that come about?
So House of Spaghetti was officially formed in 2019, in the start of 2019. So it started out as just a co-working hub for filmmakers and other artists who we kind of knew, and we started building it. And then it started to become a little bit more. It's more of a collective of people who like making things, like making comedy, or I don't know. It's basically been that idea of creating a collective and a community where whatever you want to make, you can, and there's no distinction between somebody being like, this is my project or my project. It's more about making it a group of people's projects and allowing us to try a lot of different things. A lot of people continue to believe that we're a restaurant. We had somebody from the food department try and shut us down for unhygienic practices, but fortunately we don't serve any food on the premises, so we're A-OK.
So obviously you don't serve food in House of Spaghetti.
We do not serve food.
So then what kind of projects do you work on through House of Spaghetti, like big projects?
One of our biggest things is we do a Fringe season, which we started in 2020, and our big Fringe 2021 season, which would include 10 different shows, about half of which were written, created and performed by people at House of Spaghetti.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting time. It's, yeah, even after COVID, just having a space where people could come together and were able to collaborate so freely and everybody's right there, it's genuinely been like a great bolster to my creativity, and I know a lot of the other people that I work with. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously collaboration is a big point of focus for House of Spaghetti. So why do you think collaboration is so important for the local film industry?
I think collaboration in general is very, very important throughout most practices. I definitely was excited in the auteur theory and like this being my project, but I soon came to realize that what I most enjoyed, or one of the things I most enjoy, is just being on set with people, because it becomes partially a social thing and it's also this thing of group problem solving. When you start to find the right team and the right people to work with, it stops being like a university group project where it become a real drag and nobody's quite working together. But when you find those people, things really start to click and it starts to become exciting, and it's never exactly what you've written. It's not the script that you wrote a while ago. It's things are changing and adapting on the day, and it's just having friendly people around. It's a social experience instead of I'm making this gritty thing for me, which also has its place and I think is important, and I do appreciate the people who really strive for that. But yeah, I've since realized with House of Spaghetti that I do have a lot more fun when everybody else is having fun and we're making things that we're all enjoying making.
And I guess on the other side of that, is there anything particularly challenging about it?
I think funding is always hard, and I think finding an audience, I think that's the big struggle that I'm currently trying to figure out, is how do I do the thing that I love, making films with friends at House of Spaghetti and doing all these projects that I am really interested in. How do I get them to an audience, and how do I eventually start to earn a living from that? Most of my work and income still comes from working as a camera assistant, as a grip on commercials and other like film projects. But ideally the dream would be to start being able to pay myself and pay the people that I'm working with as we make projects that we're genuinely passionate about.
Do you have any advice for anyone out there who might be thinking of pursuing filmmaking as a career, or joining a collaborative space such as House of Spaghetti but might want to join their own? Or
as Shakira once said in the film Zootopia, try everything. Honestly, that's the best thing I can say, is just like try every single thing you can. If you're at university and people are doing film sets, get on every single film set. Try a different role, try a different thing. Just throw yourself in the deep end and don't ask for people's permission to try something that you want to try. It's easier than ever to like go out and make a film or make a piece of art and just put it somewhere. Like you can, I think now is the time to be brave about it and show the things that you're interested in doing. I spent so much of my time just being worried whether or not people would like stuff and not putting stuff out there. And I think that's been the big development for me over the past like 2-3 years, is just realizing that like just putting stuff out there is a huge step. And sometimes people like it, sometimes you don't, sometimes they don't, but you just have to keep doing it and trying different things, and it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop once you hit 25 or 30 or 35. You keep trying things until, I don't know, the day you die. Or yeah, I think there's definitely freedom in trying whatever you want to try. That would be my big advice, Shakira.
say someone out there is watching this and says, hey, that's really cool, I'd like to be part of that community. Is there a way for them to join?
Absolutely, it's definitely worth talking to us. You can hit us up on our socials, at House of Spaghetti on Facebook, or we have an Instagram, or you can try and find my Facebook or Instagram and get in touch and have a chat. It's limited in terms of space, but genuinely I am interested in bolstering a good filmmaking community and showing that Adelaide is a place where we can do different things and we can play and experiment and create film and art in a different way than, I don't know, is more conventional. So yeah, absolutely feel free to contact us.
Well, thank you for joining us on Couch 44 today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and good luck to you and all your future projects through, well, personally and House of Spaghetti.
No, thank you so much for having me.
No worries.
Welcome to my party.
And thank you for tuning in to Couch 44. My name is Paige, and be sure to tune in next time for more great interviews.
Hello and welcome to Couch 44. I'm your host Laura, and today we are joined on the show by Alice and Sean. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No worries. So we are here to talk to you a bit about your experiences as a filmmaker and some of the projects that you've been working on recently. Can you tell us a little bit about your career so far and how you've become a filmmaker?
A few years ago, I studied visual arts actually, and I got to explore different mediums like photography, sculpture, and then I eventually came into film. And I sort of worked on various like DIY projects.
So when you were learning how to make films, was it a lot of YouTube watching, and did you do any workshops or just very much picked up the camera and jumped straight in?
Yeah, I think I just learned by doing actually, like picking up different equipment and, you know, experimenting with audio gear and cameras and just very affordable stuff that I already had actually without, you know, spending too much money beforehand. So it was a very kind of DIY start.
So your latest project that is kind of out and about at the moment is called The Plastic House. I believe that's been out for about a year or so and kind of doing a festival run at the moment, which you've had quite a lot of selections. Do you want to tell us a little bit about The Plastic House and the concept of the film?
Yeah, so back in 2016, I was working on my parents' farm. And they had a greenhouse and they grew mainly flat beans. At the time I was also learning about filmmaking and realised I could make a kind of self-made film just by myself, filming myself and being in front of the camera and behind the camera at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was very kind of self-contained.
What was the concept of the film? Like, were you just wanting to film and then come up with a story afterwards, or was it you had an idea of where you wanted the story to go?
I imagined scenes while I was working there, and I could easily shoot them whenever I wanted to. And so it was kind of like shot like a documentary, but maybe edited more as a fictional film. So that's how it came about.
How did you find, because you directed, acted and shot and edited a one-woman show. How did you find setting up the camera and then having to perform as well?
It really forced me to be patient and to kind of just do a lot of trial and error, because I put the camera on a tripod and have to imagine, you know, where I would be in the frame because I didn't have like a separate monitor or anything. So it took me a long time to kind of figure that out, but it was easy in a way because I didn't have any outside pressure.
What's next? I believe you've got a new project that you're working on. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm recently, from making The Plastic House, I've become more focused on my heritage and my family's background, who came from Cambodia. And so I've become interested in, you know, other families of the Cambodian diaspora and how, you know, stories and experiences are inherited from parents to children, and, you know, the difficulties in relationships and, you know, those kind of rifts between generations. And so I'm really interested in, you know, finding other Cambodian families and learning about their experiences.
So have you started trying to find these families that you're going to be working with, or are you still kind of in a lot more of the pre-production process of working out what it might look like?
Yeah, I'm definitely still trying to find different people and subjects to film, but it's obviously with last year it was a bit hard doing everything online, but it's just something that I need to keep pushing and, you know, keep talking about. So hopefully people will also come to me instead of, you know, the regular filmmaking call-outs where you're looking for a very specific person. So that's what I'm doing right now.
What would you say some of your influences are?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of movies, like I watched quite a lot of movies last year. I go on this website called Letterboxd, which you can log all the movies you watch, and I'm very influenced by world cinema and just very different people like Claire Denis, Hu Xiaoqian. If they can like put a piece of themselves in their own work, and there's like a unspoken connection there, and I feel like that's a very powerful thing that movies can do.
If you had to give any advice to someone maybe wanting to get into filmmaking, just themselves as an artist, or learning how to make a film or apply for funding, just getting into that sort of process that you have just kind of told us about, what advice would you give them?
I think with a lot of filmmakers and artists, like they can be very impulsive, and I feel for me it's always a good idea to kind of write down or capture the ideas that just come across you, and those ideas that keep you awake at night and you just can't stop thinking about. I feel like it's very important to get them down and to kind of think about them and kind of live with that material for a while. And I feel like the process will come about very organically.
Thank you for coming on the show today and inspiring us with your visions and your stories and your practices. That is all that we have time for today. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time. Goodbye. So much energy. Cool.
Hi, my name's Dylan Ward. Welcome to Couch 44. Today I'm here with Mehrdad, and today we're going to be talking about him and his PhD, as well as the achievements he's been getting lately, and sort of what he's been up to in the last couple of years. So, hi Mehrdad, how you going?
Hey Dylan, I'm great, and thank you for having me.
No worries, thank you for being here. When did you first become interested in science?
Well, I was interested in science as long as I can remember, and first I became interested in mechanical engineering. But after a while, before high school, I realized that it's more of electrical engineering for me. So I started studying at a vocational school in Iran instead of going to a high school. So I started college, and here I am now.
Can you summarize your PhD for us?
Electric vehicle employment in future and the effects of electric vehicle employment on electricity distribution system. For those who don't know what the distribution system is, well, we have generation where the electricity is generated. We have the power system that helps us to deliver that generated power to the distribution system, and the distribution system is the one that is actually distributed in the cities. So we have that's why we have access to electricity now. So in the coming years, there will be a huge amount of electric vehicle employment, and each electric vehicle comes instead of 3 apartment units in terms of electricity consumption. So it's a huge amount of electricity consumption, and the distribution system, the current situation of the distribution system in Australia especially, is not really ready for such an ambush of electricity demand. So what I'm doing here is that make the distribution system more reliable using alternatives like renewable energies and battery systems. We would have lower amount of blackouts like the one that we had at 2016.
Yeah, great. No more blackouts. So what is your end goal for your PhD, and where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Okay, well, after finishing my PhD, I believe I'm gonna do research and industry combined, because I'm not saying that I don't like academia. I like it, but I like industry at the same level. So I'm looking for a working position that can also provide both of them for me, because I'm sure if I go into industry, I'm going to be hungry for academia and research, and if I do 100% academia, I'll be missing the technical parts and practical stuff. So yeah, and there are plenty of job vacancies for such a interest. I believe.
And do you plan to stay here in Australia?
I believe so.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, and I hope so.
How do we get more young people involved in science and engineering?
Okay, well, I believe top-up scholarship schemes like the one that I got are really helpful. And of course, being a student at Flinders University provides you the opportunity to be involved with industry. And industry involvement is also a very, very good thing for doing higher degree research.
Well, Mehrdad, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and good luck with the rest of your studies.
Thank you, Dylan, for having me here and introducing me.
I've been your host, Dylan. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hi, my name's Dylan Ward. I'm your host today for Couch 44. Today with me is Matt Jellicoe. We're going to be talking to Matt about his PhD in chemistry. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, not bad yourself. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. So let's talk a little bit about your PhD. So what projects are you looking in your PhD?
So my main project is looking at carbon nanotube rings. So trying to control the morphology and shape of these rings for potential applications.
And what potential applications are they?
So the applications based on the theory previously done look at trying to increase battery life, which is good for your phones and computers, and also trying to reduce the heat that your phone and computer emits. So after 3 or 4 years, your phone gets slow, people get angry, they just chuck it out, right? Which just increases the land waste and landfill, which is not very good for the environment anyway. So trying to make computers and phones last 20 years would be an amazing feat.
All right, well look, Matt, let's get a bit into your sort of personal adventure into chemistry. How did you sort of find your little niche, and how did you start and find your interest in chemistry?
16 years ago, when I was about 8, my grandfather started teaching me about science. He was a teacher at Strathallan High School, and he taught me bits and pieces about science and, you know, what's been done, like Einstein and Newton and all that stuff. So I learnt how to do that stuff when I was about 8 years old and doing maths, algebra at 8 years old. So it got me interested, and to the point of where around year 9, I started doing year 11 chemistry in year 9. And then I started to do year 12 chemistry in year 10, which actually was a bit of a detriment to when I came into university. So I did a forensics degree, Bachelor of Forensics. So I had a year and a half of not doing chemistry, and it actually made it worse. So, but I did my degree, and then I unfortunately realized that there's no jobs in forensics. I decided to go into organic chemistry for my honors under my current supervisor, Colin Raston, and I decided I got bored of it, basically. I was like, oh, I don't really like doing organic chemistry. It's just numbers and spectra. So I decided to go into materials processing, which is amazing. You then get different outcomes, basically, and that's what interested me, basically. So yeah.
Great. What would you say to people considering to do a PhD in chemistry, or even just start doing chemistry at an undergraduate degree?
For the undergrads, I would say read, understand the techniques, understand the mechanisms, because it makes it so much easier. Once you've learnt it, it's just a continuation on through your undergrad. Take the time in your first and second year to fully understand. And if you don't understand, ask for help. There's no harm in asking for help. I asked for extensions and supplementary exams because I needed the time and I needed to redo it again. And my GPA was not that good. But I still got into honours, and I still got a scholarship for a PhD. And for people doing a PhD, I would think about in your honours or your masters, figure out what you actually want to do with not just your PhD, but the next step. And that back mapping, as per se, allows you to go, oh, I need to figure out these techniques, I need to do these projects, to then, with my PhD, I need to do this, I need to, you know, expose myself on TV and try and get, you know, interactions with people that I don't usually interact with, because we are all very isolated in science. We do our work in our group, and sometimes our biggest competitor is just down around the corner rather than in another university. At the end of your PhD, when you write your thesis, it's literally your story of the last 3 years. Figure out how you want to go to the next step, where you want to go. What are the things that you want to do? What are the things you want to see? Because the great thing about science and academia is I can go from Flinders University to university in Cambridge. There's multiple universities in the world, and it's just like, figure out where you want to go with not just your academic career, but also your life as well. So,
great. Just briefly, why should people do chemistry?
Well, chemistry is everything that surrounds us, basically. The plants that you see here, the fibers that you make of your clothes. It's everything, basically. And to fully understand it, it allows you to then be able to apply it to a multitude of areas, like a cobweb. They all interconnect with each other. And it's just trying to learn chemistry first, or any type of chemistry, like not just organic, but you can also inorganic or even marine biology. They all interconnect somehow, and it's just trying to connect those dots so that you can then go forward in your career to then make a better world, basically. That's why you should do chemistry, to make a better world, really.
Well, look, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really interesting. It seems like you've got a lot of big things coming up in the future, and I wish you the best of luck with it all.
Well, thank you, Dylan.
Thank you guys for watching. I've been your host, Dylan Ward, for Couch 44, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Welcome to Couch 44. My name is Paige, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Tom Matheson of Swell Records. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Tom, and I'm the co-owner of Swell Records and founder, I guess. Yeah.
So how did that come about? How did you get into music?
It was me and my friend Angus in his garage, and we were both starting up our first bands, and we thought it would be a great idea to create a label and to sort of create this illusion that we had this platform and sort of invite other bands and all our other friends to sort of become this collective. So yeah, that's sort of how it started.
What is the meaning of the name Swell Records? Is there any meaning? Is there a story, or?
No, we just thought it sounded cool, really.
What sort of artists do you find to sign up for Swell Records?
Mainly indie, sort of Australian sort of stuff, but it really depends on the taste and sort of, I don't know, the image as well.
What do you look for in an artist that you're looking to sign up?
Original sound is definitely a big one for us, and also like the quality of the product, whether it actually sounds finished, because we do get a lot of sort of half-cooked submissions. So yeah, sort of a whole product.
How important is it for independent records like Swell Records to exist for up-and-coming bands or other artists?
I think it sort of plays that role as sort of the middleman in between, the artist's next step in their career. They need somewhere to start and they need somewhere to sort of bounce off of, and I think we do a pretty good job of giving that sort of platform just to get them to the next level. We don't sort of act as like the top sort of label or anything like that. We exist very much to just give a little platform for the artist.
What have been some of your favourite bands to represent? Do you have any stories about them?
Jess Johns is an amazing singer in Adelaide, and she's just fantastic every time we work with her. And we just released her first single, and she just has the best voice. So every time I see her, it's amazing because I just go in a trance. That's probably the only, interesting story I have.
What do you love about working in the music industry?
I guess just the community. It's really nice. Everyone really supports each other, and seeing live music as a job is actually a lot of fun. So yeah.
What do you find challenging about this sort of work, on the other hand?
Breaking through into and getting a sort of, I guess, a fan base would be the most difficult thing. And yeah, it's really hard to actually target your advertising and figure out where your fan base is and grow. So that would be the most challenging thing.
Do you feel like an independent label like Swell Records does that for a band to help them break through?
Yeah, definitely. That's what we do. We help them grow their fan base so that they can break through and, grow it even further.
So what other acts do you represent?
Right now, we currently represent Jess Johns, Ricky Albeck and the Blair Line Bands, Bart's Nightmare, and Druid Fluids.
So say someone out there wanted to start their own record label. What would be the steps to get there?
I would say to get a couple of artists that you really like and do heaps of live shows and build your fan base from that, and sort of do variations of that with different live bands, and slowly create a community of people that, you know, work with you, and you know, get a fan base. And then from there you'll find that every new project you do, you'll actually have a following, and you'll sort of grow from there.
Do you have any advice for anyone who's an upcoming producer?
Look into sort of the governing bodies of music, APRA, AMCOs, so you can get your royalties, and also look into music distribution. There's companies like Ditto Music and DistroKid, and they properly get your music out there onto Spotify and streaming sites, and you get paid for it. So yeah.
So do you have any other projects that you're working on that you can tell us a little bit about, or are you keeping everything under wraps?
Everything is a bit under wraps, but there are some exciting new artists that we're working with, and we're taking submissions at the moment. So if you think you have something cool, then feel free to message us.
Thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you about you and your work in the industry, and good luck for all your future endeavours.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to Couch 44. My name is Paige, and be sure to tune in next time for more great interviews.
When did it click for you that you wanted to like pursue animation, art, and drawing, like as your calling?
Well, I've always drawn growing up. Like I'd always like drawn tests when I wasn't supposed to, instead of like answering the questions. But I think in high school, like near the end of high school, I realized that it was a real possibility that, you know, you could make money by being an artist. You know, it was never really in the cards for me. Like my mom really wanted me to like pursue like being a lawyer, a doctor or something, but that never really, never tickled me. Right. So like in grade 12, I was like, oh, like, yeah, maybe I should try animation. And then I heard about the program where, like near where I lived. Like I found out there was one like in Ontario where I'm from. And then I was like, all right, let's try it. And then I did. And then it worked out, and I was in, and then now I'm graduated.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So is this Sheridan Art College you're referring to?
So I went to Sheridan College for Animation, and it's like the big like animation school in Canada. So it was very conveniently near where I live, which is, I'm from Niagara Falls, and it's in Oakville, which is near Toronto.
What sort of like effort goes into creating an animation like that?
Quite a lot. I really wanted mine to be very flowy, one scene to another, like music video like, right? So I feel like I had to sacrifice a little bit of plot in order to get that fun, fast-paced, flowed like music video thing. So you start thinking about, like I was starting to think about it before school started. So I was storyboarding in like August, and then September came around, and you know, you put a few things together, timed with a little bit of scratch track of the music, and then like it takes a lot of back and forth between like peers and mentors. And then at the end of the first semester, like I was finished all the backgrounds and the animation, and I didn't really start the animation, and the Leica, the animatic, was kind of locked in. And then second semester, you know, you do the animation all together, and then you like clean it up and then hope it's good. And that was like the process of putting it all together, kind of like in the 8 months. So like right out of school, I was offered a job at Titmouse Vancouver, which is where I worked up until recently, and they were working on a DreamWorks show called Cleopatra in Space.
Yeah.
And like the art director, like the character design lead, like showed the art director my work and stuff like that, and they like liked my work, and then they reached out to Titmouse to get me hired to work for that series. So it was really amazing to do that right out of school, to like work with some real powerhouses and, you know.
Yeah, that's so lucky as well, because I understand it's a very competitive field.
Yeah, for sure.
And it also would have been very competitive to get into that art school as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I got the very lowest score possible to get in. So I really lucked in there.
Well, over that 4 years, like, how did you develop your skills then? So, like, you started there and then you got one best film and got like a scholarship. So how did that all go?
Well, in my first year, I remember thinking, like, you know, you have such imposter syndrome. You're like, everyone here is so good. I'm like the worst out of everyone. And for the first 2 years, I was like, I felt like I was on the bottom of the barrel. Like I could not, like, I feel like I could not compete with any of my peers. Like everyone was so good, and I felt like I was so like on the bottom of the scale, right? And then like I put in a lot of work and I worked really hard. And then I feel like in third year, like, I feel like I upped my game a bit. I feel like I was more happy with my pieces. I feel like I was advancing and I was getting a lot better and I was learning a lot. So I feel like that's when things kind of turned around for me and I started going up. But like in the first 2 years, like it was so hard. Like, you know, when everyone was so good, and it was really hard to think that you're ever on the same playing field as everyone else, you know? Because like some people like came from other art schools, or some people took, you know, some people are like 30 years old and other things and stuff like that. They were in like game design and they moved to animation. Like, you know, like it's not like everybody's journey in art was different in going into Sheridan. So it's not like everyone's 18 years old, fresh out of school going in. Like a lot of people were like a lot more experienced than me.
Yeah. Same with like my course as well. Imposter syndrome, like first year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like you compare yourself with like other people. How did you get out of that mindset?
I don't know, like it took like once, like in first year I did not have a lot of friends. Like we didn't really have a studio area to meet people. Like it was just classroom and go home. So like I felt like I didn't know a lot of people and I didn't really understand that other people was also going through this. And then second year, like we had a studio where we do our work together. Like we all had like a big area to work. So then you meet more people and you start getting the idea that other people feel the same way as you and you're not the only one. And that kind of like helps you like gain confidence, I suppose, you know? And then like also when you're working with your peers, I feel like you also gain confidence. Like you see how other people work, you like learn techniques, you know, like honestly, like going to school, the best thing out of it is like learning from your peers, you know, like a lot of times like people are like, oh, should I go to school? But it's not necessary to go to school. What's necessary is to have a community that like you could learn from and that you could like show your work to and have feedback and not feel like embarrassed or like not, you know, like you can't do that, you know, like that was what raised my confidence.
Now to art, talking about your art in particular, who or like what media, for example, like film, music, like shaped your colourful and vibrant like designs?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I feel like a lot of what inspires me, I like fashion, I like bright things, you know, and I like other people's art and visuals, like, and I like music videos, you know, I like fun, colorful things and comics, you know, that in a world where everything is like what it is, you know, in drawing you could make things what it's not and make it like more exciting or vibrant. I really am a big fan of Corey Loftus, and he's like a production designer. He was on like Wreck-It Ralph and Zootopia and Frozen and stuff like that. He's fantastic about all those books. And like Jason McLean is an artist at Disney right now. He went to Sheridan a couple of years above me, or the year above me. So he's really good and I'm a big fan of him. And I also like Janice Sung. She's a Toronto-based artist. She like does portraits of women and I love the way she renders them. Like the artists that I really like are mostly like, you know, young Instagram artists that I follow. You know, I also, you know, there's like the old classic ones that you're supposed to like, but I feel like I take more inspiration from, you know, modern creators. And as a character designer for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which has been announced. And the director is Taika Waititi, and it's really cool. Like, it's just like a new taste on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it's cool because it's at the very beginning stages right now. And I've never really been on a project from like the very start like this. So like the characters that everybody loves and knows, you know, like they're being revamped. So I'm coming up with like a lot of variations, a lot of different characters and a lot of possibilities. So it's really cool. Instead of, a lot of times like the character designers are like also in part like kind of like the story makers. Like if I like design a character and I say like, oh, this is a cool thing about him, so he wears this on his thing, like, oh, he brings his phone around, or this is a personality trait, you know, you write it down next to it and you say like, oh, this is a funny quirk, you know. And sometimes it gets picked up, and then like you in turn like helped out with the creation of the character's personality and stuff like that, and the story in the end, you know. So that's pretty cool, I think.
What advice would you give to upcoming like animators and illustrators?
My advice is to just keep working. You know, you got to keep working, you got to keep practicing. A lot of times, like people, you know, you want to get there already, right? But it takes a lot of years and a lot of knowledge and a lot of studying to get to where like people are, where they have it for their careers, you know. Like I remember when I was younger, I was like, oh my god, this is so hard. Can I already just like be good at drawing hands already? You know, like it's hard, and it takes a long time, and to practice and to also study from artists that you admire, I think is a really big thing. Like studying from references is important, but like, you know, like when you have trouble with hands, like I would go look at my favorite artists and I'd see how they tackled hands, how they simplify hands, what their techniques they use. And then you incorporate that in your own designs and your own drawings with your own like spin on it, you know, and that's how like you develop your style and you develop like your learning, you know. Always learn from other people. Always, you know, keep your eyes out.
Another week goes by, whoa, and I don't know what I'm feeling. It seems like I'm just floating down Main Street. What am I to do this Saturday? I saw him, he changed. Well, maybe that's just me and the chemistry in my brain. This sky is for the weak. Feeling
Hi, and welcome to Couch 44. My name is Paige, and today I'm delighted to be joined by the band Halfway Charlie. How are you guys today?
Brilliant, thank you. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Use the mic. Very good, thank you.
Let's start off by telling us a little bit about yourselves and why you guys started playing music.
Yeah, it's I guess I'll give a bit of a spiel. So Kyle started playing guitar in year 8, and I was too into video games, so I didn't get a guitar. And then I got one in year 12 after years of procrastinating, and then I wish I'd got one in year 8. And then we started doing just terrible covers together, like we were so bad. But Eddie took a fondness to what we were doing. He was our friend at the time, so he picked up the bass. Then we started doing slightly better covers, and then Petrie came to one of our first gig, actually. We did a drumless gig, and it was not too bad. Yeah.
Good, I just needed drums.
Yeah. And then, he floated that he would be happy to join the band, and a few months later he did, and then, just started playing out of my mum's back family room, and, continued to play in lounge rooms, and then started doing gigs and stuff.
Can you tell me a little bit about your sound and who your greatest influences are?
Definitely for all of us, Arctic Monkeys is one we all bonded over. Been listening to them for years and years, and we're all a little bit obsessed. We're all quite into bands like Chili Peppers and Billy Talent and things like that. And keep going.
Yeah, sort of taken a liking to some various trash rock as well. Has some influences on the heavier parts of our songs. We tend to just we have a few things we revert back to. One is just going nuts at the end, as evidenced in the song.
Can you tell me the story behind your band name Halfway Charlie?
I'll take that one. I really, truly wish there was a better story for it. But every time someone asks me, I usually make something up, just whatever's on the top of my head. But this is being filmed, so I'm not going to do it this time. I really was just... actually, my dad was in a band 10, 20, 30 years ago, and they were called Airport Jackie. And I just really liked that sounding kind of name, just the 2 words, and Airport Jackie. And one night, I thought of the Halfway Charlies, and I thought that sounded kind of cool, and brought it to the guys, because we were going by Prominent Blue before that, which is not great in retrospect. Sorry. So we were the Halfway Charlies for a bit, and then one day at the pub, after a few, we thought, let's just drop the and the S, and we'll become Halfway Charlie, and we all thought it sounded a lot better, so we stuck with it.
You guys released an EP recently, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we self-titled it because the songs are on it. The 6 songs are the time in which they were written, say earliest to the most recent, was quite a long time. What was the oldest? Probably Renaissance Bug, I think. Yeah. That was like I think it was the second song we wrote. So we self-titled it because it's kind of like a catalogue. It's like, here's the sounds that we've had over our 3 years or whatever. So that was a good, I guess, introduction, and like, this is Halfway Charlie. So yeah, we just thought we'd get a record down because we procrastinated. Well, first we procrastinated writing for ages because we would just do Arctic Monkeys covers. And then secondly, we didn't record anything for ages, and we did some pretty crappy YouTube demos, which I'm sure you can find. Can't remember if I took them down after the EP or not. I think I did. But, reach out if you want to hear the earlier, crappier stuff. But yeah, then we just got the record down. So, yep, Kyle over there mixed it. So we got it recorded at Twin Earth Studios. Kyle did the mixing, and spent a lot of time. We live together, so there's many nights I come home and he's locked in, zoned in, mixing, bouncing ideas off each other and stuff.
And what about the song you just played for us? Was that part of the EP, or was it something else entirely?
No, that's a new one. We sort of finished writing it just after the EP was released. But we've also got 10 songs that we are ready to record.
What do you guys love about playing music and being in a band together?
Oh, it's one of the few things I can just get properly lost in. Just switch off your brain, whatever's troubling you, whatever you think about, and you can just lock in, and having 3 other like-minded people that want to achieve those same results and can get into that kind of state is just, you can't replace that feeling for me.
I think camaraderie, and a lot of the time it seems like we're just messing around having fun at practice, and over time you've built this tangible thing that you can show to people. It's a really weird concept. It's like, we made this, we'd like you to listen. We don't know why you'd like you to listen, but here it is.
Yeah, just like creating a lot of our jams are very jam heavy, like, you know, unrehearsed, and we sort of just start playing something. Eddie will throw a lick down and I'll start drumming to it, and then these guys will just join in, and a lot of the time that's turned into our songs that we've developed and recorded. So yeah, just to have that creative outlet with like 3 of my best mates, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, everything that they said. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just something like what Eddie was saying. I can lock into it, and you sort of like, you know, like lose time.
And where do you guys see yourselves in the next 5 to 10 years or so?
Oh, for me, tippy top. For me, I would love to have gigged around the country a lot more, preferably in a dirty, gross old minivan and driving around the country, hitting up every possible spot. That's one thing I definitely want to get ticked off in the next few years.
Yeah, I guess where I'd like to see myself and what's realistic is probably two different things. But yeah, I guess I'd like to play with some big bands, you know, do a support at like Thebi or something for even a band that we like to be also. We hear stories of bands that started out and they had a big influence like we do with the Arctic Monkeys, and then later in their career they end up supporting them. But obviously to reach for the stars, doing an Australian tour or something in 10 years would be good with crowds and tickets and everything.
Yeah, I guess you nailed it. I'd just be happy just to continue playing, even small time. Like, it's good fun. So, like, even if we don't progress further, I'm still happy. So, yeah. But yeah, selling out arenas would be great.
That's what I mean. Two different things.
Yeah, I'd just like to be able to do it and like get by, make enough money to, you know, live. That'd be cool.
Where can people go to find out more about your band, Halfway Charlie?
We have Facebook and Instagram, so I think it's just at Halfway Charlie, and Halfway Charlie in a Facebook search will get it. We have all of our songs from the EP pretty much on every platform. Went through a distributor, so it's just everywhere. Spotify. We put them up on YouTube as well, so you know, if someone doesn't want to pay for it, they can get it there for free, and you know, can use ad blocker, and then it's really for free because you don't have to view any ads for Colgate or whatever before you watch the video. Yeah, that's about it. And we gig around Adelaide, so we always post about our gigs. So if you follow us, we'll post about gigs. You can come to the gig, watch us play, and you can go home and be like, that was great. Yeah. So glad I watched Channel 44 that day. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today and for playing for us. Good luck with the future. And thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next time for more great artists.
Also awesome chat. I didn't realise I was so
nervous. Thank you.